All right, so welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. It would be nice if people would join. I see a lot of people have already joined, but they are not Muslims as far as I know, which is a pity. So let's go to the misconception of the week. Today, I've selected gender equality because it was quite funny because I was at a party yesterday, which is why my voice sounds a bit rough. I met a girl there who is a Muslima, and people have told, well, I don't know, people told her that I am the one to talk to about Islam and things like that. I don't know why people do that. Anyway, so she came to me and then we spent like half an hour, maybe even 40 minutes, talking about Islam, talking about the history of Islam, talking about the contents of the Quran. And as per usual, she didn't even know the Quran. And she thought that the Quran propagates gender equality, which obviously and totally it does not. I mean, the Quran is just as misogynistic as the Bible or the Torah or all these religious documents, because women were not seen as equals. And she didn't even know that in chapter 4 you have all about the women, and in chapter 2 you have a lot of these rules and regulations, and that 288 actually tells people that a woman is a second class human being. But she did not know this. So gender equality is not something that you find in the Quran. Now, what people mistake as gender equality is the statement that before God, men and women which are created by the same God have the same level of recognition in front of a God. Not here on earth. And this is why a lot of people, a lot of imams, a lot of scholars are leading the female Muslims on by saying, yes, you have your role, and according to your role, you are recognized as such, which does not mean that you have gender equality. A woman is never allowed to marry 4 men, where men are allowed to marry 4 women. A woman is not allowed to have a sex slave. Men are allowed to have a sex slave. So there's a lot of things like this in the Quran, which, I mean, there's endless examples. Of course, the consequences today is that a woman cannot even open her own bank account in a Muslim majority country. She needs the permission of the husband. If a woman leaves the country, like if she is living in Saudi Arabia, the husband receives an SMS, your wife is leaving the country. Are you allowing this? There's things like that. This is hardly gender equality. So, let's go to the news. Let's go look at Ramadan. I mean, 10 days now, or 11 days, we've had Ramadan. What is Ramadan? Now, I've been asked that a lot in the last couple of days, because there are so many things floating around what Ramadan is and what Ramadan is not. So I thought, all right, let me go and get some facts before we start talking about Ramadan. So this year's the days are quite long in the northern hemisphere, right? So a lot of Muslims are complaining and saying, "Yeah, this is such a hardship this year, and this year is just particularly tough," and things like. Why is that? Why does this influence Ramadan? Why does the Arabic word Ramadan influence or get influenced by the northern hemisphere and the length of the days? And why is this considered a special hardship by Muslims? And why are they asking for, this special consideration? So this year it's from the 17th, 18th of June until the 16th, July, which is 28 days. But in reality, it depends on the moon. Now, in spite of modern scientific inventions like observatories and things like that, and other resources that we have available today, Islam rejects anything scientific and prefers the human observation. Okay, the observation of the moon. Now, this means that this only works here on planet Earth and only on a certain part of the planet, preferably known as Saudi Arabia. Why is that? Okay, so let's just start at the beginning. So Ramadan is after the 8th month, the first appearance of a part of a new moon. Okay, so in other words, the 8th month is finished, and then the new moon starts, and as soon as you see the first part of the moon appearing on the horizon, this is the beginning of Ramadan. And I mean, there are several holy months, but scholars are uncertain which ones and where they go, but all agree on one, the most important being the 9th. called Ramadan. Okay, what is strange that the word, I mean, etymologically speaking, comes from ramad, which means heated or heated by the sun. Now, as the months vary in the seasonal calendar, due to, in Islam, the month only has 28 days because it's one moon cycle. And, well, 28 days and a bit, because God was not really so good at arithmetic and he didn't manage the 28 days quite. So it's the 28th and a bit. So Ramadan falls into winter in a couple of years. So that's making no sense at all, because it follows a cycle of around, 33 years, where it changes all the way around. So people have to revert to something called interpretation. And this is usually the case in Islam, and people have come up, instead of the hot days, with burning of sins. Because it's not the sun that is burning the earth, but it's the burning of sins. Because much like Catholics, Muslims can work off accumulated sins. So the rule is, in this Ramadan, if you want to get rid of your sins and be like really holy and everything, you don't consume anything. Okay, so and this not consuming anything varies, because some scholars insist it's from sunrise to sunset, others insist it's from darkness to darkness, and others disagree with both sides. So it's again down to interpretation. And this not consuming anything includes food, drink, and then other things like pills or smoke or consuming sex, anything. I don't know how sex has anything to do with consuming something. If you have normal sex, I mean, oral sex, all right, you might consume something, but otherwise, Okay, anyway, it's not, you're not allowed. It goes so far. I mean, some people go absolutely moggy over this, that you're not allowed to touch a woman and then say, yeah, but you're not even allowed to be in the same room as a woman because you might consume something of her air or something. I don't know how that works, but it goes quite crazy. But scholars disagree, and some now have allowed for water, especially since, for example, there's a heat wave killing people by the thousands in Pakistan this year. So their God doesn't agree with something, it seems, but come on, in his mercy, he's only killing a few thousand when he would actually like to kill many more because of something they've done wrong. Maybe they've also had some topless Briton in, some city on some mountain, and now the God is punishing the Pakistanis by killing them, by sending a lot of heat, Ramadan, a lot of Ramad, the heat, during Ramadan. I don't know. But now, the ritual of fasting is one of the 5 pillars. In other words, the most important things in Islam. Okay, because we have the declaration of God, the prayer, the Hajj, the zakat, the paying of money. Money is very important. And then this fasting thingy. And come on, I mean, I've done this frequently, due to circumstances. Like if you're traveling and you simply cannot have a meal because you're running around some airport trying to catch a connecting flight or something like that, and you miss it, and then you have a couple of hours before you can eat something. So sometimes you go like 12 hours without food. So what? I mean, most of us are overweight anyway, and can go weeks without food. So it's not a big deal. And it's just one of those things, okay? Nothing worth a special mention. So I don't quite understand why Muslims are fretting and saying, oh, we are so weak and we can't really do our work. And then, come on. And anyway, as always, it's down to interpretation. Because if you can't fast due to medical reasons or pregnancy or whatever, you simply don't. I mean, fasting is not detailed in the Quran. It says the Quran was sent down in the month of Ramadan. Which is not true, because it was sent down over 23 years and not the month of Ramadan. And again, you need to interpret this that the beginning was in Ramadan. Anyway, so that, and the way that the Quran mentions, it just says that fasting is prescribed as per tradition, the way it's always been done. So they're copying the Jews here. And it doesn't say the entire month or what part of it, and it doesn't give you anything detailed. So guess what? It's down to interpretation. Or you adhere to one of the many branches, like the Alawites, for example, where the head of the group has declared fasting unnecessary. So the different groups of Muslims have varying levels of fasting at varying times, at varying places, varying this, varying that. So if you, for example, if you're in the north of Canada or the north of Norway or something, you can forget about it. I mean, the sun doesn't set for 3 months. So are you going to fast for 3 months? No, of course not. So it doesn't make sense. And in opposite, if you live in in the south of Argentina. I mean, how are you going to... You could eat the whole time because the sun doesn't rise for 3 months. So this is ridiculous. And then what people do when Ramadan is finished, that is amazing. I mean, they have parties every night, and then they go and stuff themselves silly, and that is also not so healthy. So there's a lot of doctors who are saying fasting should be taken with a pinch of salt. And then after Ramadan, after this month of so-called fasting, which it is not, you have a 3-day party known as Eid al-Fitr, the first Eid. You have a second one where they celebrate the sacrifice of children, but here this is just it's comparable to Xmas holidays, all right, with the Christmas holidays in the rest of the world. Because Muslims don't have Christmas because they don't have any Christ, and they have a pseudo-Christmas or quasi-Christmas or something because they have the holidays. Some make a point of working, but most commercial malls do have Christmas decoration, and they have special Christmas editions, blah, blah. The best is the Christmas discounts, because I bought 2 suits for $300, and these are brand suits. They're really fantastic quality because you get amazing discounts during the Christmas period in Muslim majority countries. And now, another thing that is supposed to happen during this so-called holy month is that you don't kill anyone. But that's asking a bit much, it seems. I mean, Pakistan, wonderful, isn't it, has declared that it will not hang or execute anyone during this month. But is that actually a mercy? I don't know. Anyway, in other regions, Muslims celebrate Ramadan in different ways. Like a man decapitated in France and the head covered in Arabic messages, as is common in Daesh. Or some people lying relaxed on sunbeds on a beach, which are suddenly randomly killed, shot by some Muslims during Ramadan. And some Muslims celebrate it in Kuwait, where they kill Shia people, Shia Muslims praying in a mosque during the holy month of Ramadan. So the religion of peace at it again and again and again. And again, I don't know, this should actually be the video of the week, where I have actually chosen as video of the week a video where a guy shows that we can save a couple of seconds every single day by tying our shoelaces in a different way. But I think a 7-minute propaganda clip by Daesh is making the rounds at the moment, so that should be video of the week, showing the propaganda that they like, showing that they are this horrific, brutal, clan, group, sect, cult, or whatever, not worthy of being called human beings. And this is where religions poison everything and can make otherwise normal men commit atrocities. And this is a very good example of this. Okay, so that's my the news for today. I just wanted to clarify what Ramadan is about and just go to a couple of things, because if I go now into details with all the killings and everything, then we're going to be busy here for 2 hours, so let's not do that. Now, as a topic for today, I have selected Spain, because if you go, there's several reasons. A lot of people still parrot this. They still say, that the Islam is responsible for the enlightenment of the West. Islam is responsible for the scientific achievements that we have today. Islam is responsible for the persistence of science when the rest of Europe was in the Dark Ages and stupid stuff like that. And this is totally not true. It's a myth. Now, a lot of people ask me, why do you say this? Where do you get this from? Is this just Fox News propaganda or whatever? So I said, no. Let me just take one example. And this is a Spanish journalist who wrote, and I'm quoting now, "The existence of a Muslim kingdom in medieval Spain, where different races and religions lived harmoniously in multicultural tolerance, is one of today's most widespread myths. University professors teach it. Journalists repeat it. Tourists visiting the Alhambra accept it. It has reached the editorial pages of the Wall Street Journal, which sings the virtues of the pan-confessional humanism of Andalusian Spain. The Economist echoes the belief, and they say Muslim rulers of the past were far more tolerant of people of other faiths than were Catholic ones. For example, Al-Andalus multicultural, multi-religious states ruled by Muslims gave way to a Christian regime that was grossly intolerant even of dissident Christians, and that offered Jews and Muslims a choice only between being forcibly converted and being expelled. Now, the problem with this belief, and I'm still quoting the Spanish guy Fernandez Morera, that the problem with this belief is that it is historically unfounded, a myth. The fascinating cultural achievements of Islamic Spain cannot obscure the fact that it was never an example of peaceful convivencia. And that is the end of the quote. Now, in the early, let me just go back a bit. So in the early 8th century, okay, we had different people. We had Moors, Berbers, Syrians, Arabs, like a complete mix. And they went and crossed the sea in the Strait of Gibraltar, and then conquered Andalus, the southern Spanish tip of the entire continent. And then they went with immense brutality, all right, with which they dispelled the Visigoths. They had, in turn, they came from the north and they had conquered the people. So people were like tired of this. And then suddenly, after the Visigoths came from the north and had established their culture and everything, then the people came from the south and dispelled all that and started installing Islam. And then, just a few decades later, the internal battles had an Umayyad warlord fight and defeat the Abbasid rulers. And then this Abd al-Rahman became the founder of Al-Andalus and the Emirate of Cordoba. And that was the beginning of this whole caliphate and all the myths surrounding the Muslims in Spain. And then what followed was destruction, extermination, and subjugation. It was sheer brutal force, just as what we see today in Syria and Iraq done by Daesh. Now, if you go and look at historians, if you read Emmett Scott, if you read, there's so many people who are now starting to dig out the manuscripts, who are going into the villages and going through all the texts that they find there. And they are finding accounts now of people who actually describe what happened during those days, how they had the Moors coming in and first of all plundering everything that they can lay their hands on. They put this into carts, drove off the carts, then they took the women, they raped them and then put them on the carts and then shipped them off to some slave markets in Syria. And then they subjugated the men and said, well, if you have two options, either you become Muslim or you pay tax. And they taxed them quite heavily, okay? And then in the 10th century, the grandson, he declared himself a caliph and used the booty, this extortion money, slavery and taxes to introduce unknown splendors into Cordoba, rivaled only by Baghdad. So what happened is they first destroyed everything, then took the basements and all the foundations left by the Visigoths and then built on that. Like the Alhambra was built and just sort of, they modified the existing Visigoth constructions that they had. And this is how then the so-called Muslim architecture, or Islamic architecture, was invented by taking the existing stuff and then modifying it. And then what people, I don't know why Muslims will simply reject this. I mean, if I think most Christians agree that what they did during the Crusades was not exactly humane. So I can't understand why Muslims don't accept it and why Muslims don't take ownership of their own religion and just create some facts. Because the brutality exhibited towards Christians in those days in Spain, which then kept the infighting between Muslims in check because they had a common enemy, the Christians, okay? And then new arrivals caused so much pressure internally within the Muslims that over the next 200 years, kingdoms have been established. And then by the 13th century, open wars had erupted between the Muslims, between the different kingdoms that were established by the Muslims. And they became tyrants. They became decadent tyrants. They were killing humans as a sport and a pastime, and at the same time taxing them and just demonstrating incredible brutality. And that is what established the Spanish splendor, which, come on, I mean, there were no street lamps in Cordoba, and there was no Furnas flying over over Spain and things like that. That is fabrication, sheer fabrication. I do not know why people cannot accept this and cannot just simply say, okay, yes, there were some brilliant things, but at the end of the day, it was an occupied area. It was a colony. It was colonization at its best. It was brutal, it was suppressive, and there was nothing nice about it. People did not come from Britain and from all over Europe just to study scientific things in Spain. I mean, that's total stupidity. But now, why I selected this is, number one, just to bring some facts in here and to show that it's not only me who is saying this, and anybody who goes and researches this will find that this is reality. The second thing is, we see the same thing in Daesh in Syria and Iraq today. The same kind of approach, the same attempt that they could easily subjugate everybody, and that they were able to install Islam as the religion and the. Who's ignoring whom? Is this directed at me? Because I'm seeing some comments, but I don't know if these comments are directed at me. No, I don't hear. I don't hear anything.
About that you probably.
Should I hear something?
But the thing is, I think you just can't hear because what microphone you're using? A Bluetooth, maybe?
Yes.
And that's the reason, I think, because your Bluetooth, maybe it's not duplex, and so when you're talking you can't hear if
no, what happens is after a while it switches off.
Very good. Yes, what I wanted to say, can I just go back to the Ramadan for just some seconds?
Were you trying to interject? Because I saw some messages, but they were always internal, nothing, because I'm not following the, maybe I should.
No, this was not in the chat, this question. I wanted to ask, but you keep talking.
Yeah, because at the moment I want to get this off and then open this as quickly as possible.
No, my question for people who doesn't know the Ramadan quite well, and you said you don't too much into the detail, but I have to ask, does the Quran mention that and weak people and old people haven't to fast?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Because I also looked up this week and I just couldn't find it on the fast searching. So I just could find that sick people don't have to, and people on traveling. But I can't remember.
Says that God does not want you to suffer unduly, and therefore those who are don't need to. So I don't know which sentence this is in, and I don't know. Oh goodness, where was it? Let me quickly go see if I can find it quickly.
Because I clearly can remember this thing in the Hadith, but I really can't remember that it's in the Quran. That's just my thought.
Okay, fasting. Everybody, here's one. I found in Islamicity, Ramadan, fasting in the Quran. Every year, all Muslims exactly this. Those who are sick, elderly, on a journey, and women who are pregnant or nursing are permitted to break the fast. So, in 2:183, oh, you believe fasting is prescribed? Exactly, I went through that. Then 184. Okay, but if you are ill or on a journey, 4 days later, for those who can, for those who can do it with hardship, as a ransom for feeding of one's, but that will give more of its own free will, it is better for him. Then you have 185, sent down as a man cast sign for guys, fasting. If anyone is ill on a journey, prescribed period 5 days later, Allah intends, He does not put it. This is the one. So it's in 285. Allah intends every facility for you. He does not want to put difficulties. He wants you to complete the prescribed period or to glorify Him in the guidance of be grateful. And then permitted on a night of visit, approaching your goals and goals, but do not visit while you are in retreat. Those are the limits. But give signs to the men that were self-restrained and complete that. Peaceful conditions. They can wish to hurt. You must make an offering so you can afford. You should fast 3 days during those 7 days. Now, this is during fast. Okay, so the way that it is said, and this is now a funny compilation, but it says here, for those who can do it, they should, but those who can't, don't. And that is
but
in
the can, I think the
185.
criterion, I think, for can and not can is the travelers and the sick can't, and the others can. That's the criterion, I think, in the Quran itself.
Because I distinctively remember seeing those who are weak or those who cannot. Let me expand this into weak so that I can focus on this.
Maybe you can search, and I can. I have typed some lines about Al-Andalus, what I found 2 hours ago.
Yeah, but then we're moving backwards and forwards. So let's go with this with this fasting first. Because I understand what you're suggesting, but then I think this is also too confusing. Fasting, importance of fasting. Fasting is prescribed. The prescribed number remaining from daily days with those. This also gives us.
So you looked at 2:185.
Yes.
That talks about not having unnecessary hardship or something. Although I'd say fasting is unnecessary hardship, isn't it?
Yes, and there's something. Why is it? Okay, who is permitted to break the fast in Ramadan? The insane person. And it says should not fast, should not be off, but it doesn't say that in the Quran. Those permitted must pay ransom for not fasting. The frail, elderly men and women break the fast who are chronically ill, those who perform difficult jobs under harsh circumstances. But this is all interpretation. Ibn Abbas, Huraira, da. No, I want the Quran text only. Al-Ghazali is also not what I want.
That's my point. I think that's quite interesting because the people make it up themselves, like always.
Yeah, it is interpretation, but I remember reading the word weak, and now you have sort of put some doubt into my mind that maybe I did not see this, but I remember seeing the word weak. But maybe the word weak that I saw was actually already an interpretation.
That could be. I'm also not sure, but I just can't remember that really it's mentioned that people who are weak in the Quran itself.
Because it says something that if it presents a hardship to you.
Yeah, but what means hardship? I mean, I think
No, that is down to interpretation, and this is where
the
it comes in.
Quran
If
gives
you are
us.
sick and ill, if you
Yeah, but the Quran still gives us the definition when it's permitted and when it's should not be done, etc. It's when you are on traveling and on and sick. Just that simple, I think it is. It's the same like nowadays that some imam in Pakistan just makes a fatwa and says, well, now people should drink because it's too hot. I mean, who is he to say what it's good for people and what not? If the Quran says that not specifically. Like
why does he know it better
mentioned.
than his God? Okay, whoever is ill or journeying, for him is like the number of the Allah desires for you ease and does not desire for you hardship. So you should complete the number and magnify for his. Okay, so then you are right. It doesn't say weak as such. It's just that it shouldn't be a hardship.
There's a tafsir on that one by Sayyid Abul Alamodudi. Don't know how you pronounce that.
Mahmoud, yeah.
Talks about how once the Prophet saw people gathered round the man who'd fallen to the ground and asked what was the matter with him. He was told that he'd become too weak to stand on account of observing fast. He remarked that it was no virtue to observe fast in such a condition.
So maybe then I am putting the word weak from a hadith into the Quran. Okay, let me go to a Quran.
No, or you make the connection about Allah makes it easy for you, and therefore not with the connection in weak and ease. I think probably there.
Okay, here they're just clarifying that it's night and darkness, because this is an issue where a lot of people say it's not sunrise and sunset, but it's actually dark to dark. And they're concentrating on when does the night begin. Oh, you believe? What is the meaning of Siyam?
Allah, so maybe you know it. What's your opinion here? Are you here, Alasa?
Yeah. I don't think in Quran it makes out any exception. It says that you're supposed to fast and then you enter hadiths into it. That's when people interpret different things. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. I don't think the Quran itself says, when you can or you can't. Hadiths enter a lot into this.
Yes.
But if I was a real believer in Islam, I would fast no matter what, because it's guaranteed paradise if you die in Ramadan, and your rewards are double and triple. I would not, no matter how heat it is, I want to die dehydrated. I won't listen to any fatwa. I will die if I was a believer.
So you think disbelievers in Pakistan who died from the heating will go into paradise?
Well, they are the doubters. I mean, if I'm a real believer, that's what it says in the hadith. The doors to hell are locked, and the doors to heaven are open. And this is the open ticket directly to heaven. You don't, no judgment day, no nothing. You are going directly to heaven.
It's like a martyr.
Exactly.
Somehow, yes.
Okay, so you are right. It doesn't mention the word weak. It is, he does not want hardship for you. He wants ease for you. Now it's down to interpretation. Once again, what is hardship and what is ease? So I have taken the tafsir and the hadith and interpreted hardship into weak.
Okay. I just wanted to make clear that people who say the pregnant and the insane one, etc., are an exception and don't need to fast, etc., that just doesn't is mentioned in the Quran. That's
well, if you are ill and a woman that is pregnant is ill.
Since when is since when?
And also, if your husband forbids you to fast, she can't fast. So you have to obey the husband.
Okay.
Okay, so it's interpretation. So the Quran just mentions a couple of things and gives you some examples, but as per usual, not a lot.
Good. I just want to pinpoint it a little bit.
Thank you for that, for pointing that out. I will need to remember that there's even less in there than I thought. Okay, then what was this about Spain? Somebody wanted to say something about Spain?
I just written down some lines.
Oh, Jordan, okay.
Just maybe these lines are for people of some interest. Al-Manjur burned entire libraries with philosophical and scientific content because he wanted to strengthen the caliphate. That was around the 11th century. 22 years long, from 1009 to 1031, was a time of gruesome fights between the Muslims, and it is known as fitna, which means confusion. That was a must be really bad time, because it's got a specific name. About 100 years later, it got even worse. The today propagated so friendly Al-Andalus did not like the Christians and the Jews at all, and began to deport them out from Spain. Not even just take the money, but really take them out of Spain. They just didn't want them anymore.
But
the conflict.
Immigration.
What?
The forced immigration.
Was it that immigration? Is that called if you deported them out?
Yeah, if you chuck somebody out, I call that a forced immigration.
Okay. Anyway,
I think immigration v immigration, isn't it?
No, immigration is you go in, immigrate is you go out.
Emigrate. Oh, I just heard immigrate, so okay. The conflicts between the Muslims were also so bad. If you were in position of if we were in position of the work from Al-Ghazali, it's called Ihya Ulum al-Din, Revival of the Religious Science, you were charged with death penalty. And just to mention, Al-Ghazali was on the side of the Sufis. It's not quite clear if he was a long time Sufi or just a short time. I didn't know quite well, but he was sometime a Sufi. By no means is it like Al-Ghazali would be a great philosophical person or has any clue of science, because in the end of his proposition is every time only through the love from Allah you can get reason, and if you something speaks against Allah or the Quran, you should burn it or just ignore it as good as you can. He's no better as the Sunni opposition who burned his book and who forced the death penalty if you are in possession of this book. On the other side, you have or had Ibn Badja, which seems to be a thinker and fighted with words against Al-Ghazali and said you cannot give upper hand to a cozy feeling which can go away to the thinking process with objective views on reality, etc. So, just to be a little bit more clear, Al-Andalus was more like a Sunni based Islam for the most time, and fighted the whole time against this, the Sufis in particular, and against the Shia in Baghdad mostly. About 450 to 550 years after that, in general, 450 to 550 years, the Muslims of all color and ethnicities fight to the blood for power and land and slaughtered themselves, meaning they didn't really look on the Christian because they already countered at the moment the Christian. Slaughtered themselves till one day the Christian fought back and did it hard. It was about the 15th century. Sure, some periods promoted and helped philosophical thoughts and were open to science in general, in the whole golden Islamic Al-Andalus age, if you want to call it like that. But the wars were always around the corners. So there was never a real long period of time with freedom of thought and freedom of religion or anything like that. In the middle of the 15th century, the Christians got many of the land back and had enough of the Muslims. At the time, Muslims had to be baptized, but even that was not enough for the Christian. The Mohammedan use deceiving methods, the so-called taqiyya, if they wanted to be, if they don't want to be persecuted. That means they had to go to church and pay the church also. It was the peak of the Crusades versus the jihad fighters, in which the Crusades in the end ruled over Spain and freed, if you want to call it like that, it from the Moors and Berber of North Africa with their Arabic rulers. The whole time, the more or less center of Islamic freedom with philosophical and scientific interests, Cordoba in Spain was in competition with Baghdad. This foe mentally goes back to the Umayyad Caliphate structure, which was established in Spain against the Abbasid of Iraq or Iran, if you want to call it. That's just my little lines. I hope people were interested.
Okay. Did you have any other historians that you want to mention where you found this?
No, I have 2 books in German, but names I can't remember names, so don't ask me things like that.
Okay, so you have the same. Okay, do you have an explanation why it is that Muslims will not stop claiming that the Muslim occupation in Spain was so incredibly peaceful? Why is it that they will simply continue lying?
Well, I think it's very simple. In the mind of the Muslim community, they still did not or are not getting over it, or over the loss of this land.
Yeah.
So I have no other explanation, because it's the same like the neo-Nazis in Germany. They still think the Holocaust never happened, and that Germany, the Reich of Hitler, etc., and they never got over it. The same with Palestine. They lost to the Brits, and same with not Palestine, but what was the other? Lebanon. But Lebanon now is quite well, I think, compared to Palestine. People just can't get over it, even if it's 100 years ago. And Andalus was maybe for the Muslims at that time a very successful conquering, because they ruled, even if they ruled with many different structures in Spain, over about 600 years in total. So they just can't get over the loss.
Okay, exactly. And this is why I don't understand why Muslims don't take ownership of their own ideology, take ownership of Islam, and clarify this once and for all, and accept it. Like I don't know. I don't think there are very many Germans who will simply reject the Holocaust. I mean, most people accept it and say it's horrific, but there are. I mean, there's people who believe that Hitler is still alive, that he's living in some bunker somewhere.
In Argentina. Yeah.
Or in Argentina. So this is really crazy. But I don't understand why Muslims, I mean, like at the forefront, this stupid 1001 inventions, they go ahead and they make millions just making these claims and pretending as though this was the greatest thing that ever happened to them. And they still make names like Kharizmi and Al-Haytham and those. They make it sound, or this Al-Fianas guy, they're still making this out as though these are like the top-notch Nobel Prize winners at the time. It was absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, what I wanted to show with this, number one, is that the claims that this was all peaceful and that are not true. And number two, this is actually what Daesh is using as a mold. Because the appeal today of Daesh is exactly this brutality, is exactly that they are saying our brand name, our brand is represented by the brutal reality that we are bringing in the name of our God. And so the target audience, the customer, so to speak, of their product are the primitive and unthinking people, the young people who have no perspective, who see nothing and want to improve by just going and working for their God. And the same thing was true in ancient in Spain, in Andalus. And what they are doing is they're then taking the history and saying that we were always the winners. We took the Islamic flag and spread it from Spain all the way to India, and we should do this again. We should spread the Islamic flag all over the world. And that is the approach that they're taking. That is the propaganda they're using. That is their entire basis. And this is how they are looking at the competition. Like Al-Qaeda was competition, now they caved in. And they said, well, let's go under the flag of Daesh. Because everybody who is a Muslim seems to be impressed. But that there is a group which can terrorize the rest of the world. And this is the way that it was seen in ancient Spain. So what I've tried to find some goals and how Daesh wants to be seen, and then comparing that to what happened in Spain 1,000 years ago. And I see that on the one hand, they want to be seen as the victims. They want to be seen as, well, we are the ones who are actually sort of defending ourselves against Islamophobia, against all the haters in this world, and all we are doing is just propagating our religion. No, they're not. But anyway, this is the victim role that they are saying, that they are taking. Then they're saying, okay, we want to, like in the old days, like in Spain, we want to create a state just for ourselves where we can be who we want and how we want. That's all we're asking. It's bullshit, but that's what they're using. Then they're saying, well, as soon as we have this, we will have unity, which is bullshit, because already there's infighting within the different groups within Daesh, where some groups are saying, no, it's not al-Baghdadi who has the power, because there are others who have make more sense than he does and things like that. Then you have the acceptance. They need the acceptance of the rest of the world, the rest of the Muslims, and they're not getting it. But Muslims are not. Apparently, there is a march being organized in the UK just after Ramadan, because it's too difficult to march during Ramadan because you can't eat. Maybe they can go past McDonald's there or something, but they can't break the fast, so they have to do this after Ramadan, and they will then march in protest. And this is a very, very big step, and I think it's a very good step on the path of taking ownership, that Muslims take ownership of their own religion. I think that's very important. And then the whole thing is that it's God-based, that it's revolutionary, that it's rigorous and unrelenting, all things that they took from the way that the old caliphs were running in Spain. But then you have the same problems. You have the internal problems where you have Iraq, where you have Shias, where you have Sunnis, you have the rest of the world. You have external problems, how they are perceived by Muslims and non-Muslims alike in other countries. So those are the problems that they need to address, which they're not doing. Then they have the solutions, where they say, okay, let's have the internal solution, where they're saying, well, let's just go and conquer the world and then worry about our internal differences. And then you have the external solutions, which is completely split. Like the USA, as usual, just wants to go and have a military solution. And others are saying, no, we can't do that because they're running out of oil, they're running out of everything anyway. So let's just wait a bit until they run out of steam. Is there any viable option here? Nobody knows. Then you have the credibility of the people who are fighting for them and the credibility of the people who are fighting against them. Because a lot of Shias who are coming in there from the Iraq army are running away when they hear the propaganda. Others are saying, no, this is exactly what we need. So there's a couple of things that I found quite interesting. If you look at the propaganda that Daesh is propagating and how they are doing that, how they are sort of marketing their own product, and this universal selling proposal that they have, this USP. What is the product that Daesh is actually marketing? It is only the caliphate that is run on the basis of a god, and that is it. Is there any input from anybody? Okay, that's it. This was my input for today. Welcome to who is here? Let me take a look. We have Alassa here, we have GPZ, we have Jeremy, we have Nike, we have Sewin. Welcome everybody to the Gin and Tonic Show. And this was me with a long monologue, almost an hour, just talking about Ramadan and what happened in Spain. And now I would like to open the whole discussion. Maybe next time we should do it a little bit different, so that people get more of a say. Anybody else, any kind of input? Alassa, what are you saying? Nothing. What about GPZ? Anyone know what the Sufi argument is? Anyone know what the Sufi argument towards what?
Weren't we saying last week what they're selling is kind of a sexier version of Islam? Yeah, you can sort of kill people and get jihadi brides and all, have loads of power and all this. It's sort of really primal thing.
Do you know the Sufi history? Jeremy, do you know the Sufi history? Or do you know something about the Sufi history?
In what sense?
Well, that they were the most violent group.
Who, the Sufis?
The Sufis. It's only recently that they have become this, oh yes, we're all spiritual and woo and blah blah. No. They used to be horrific. They used to be really terrible.
Well, there are different brands of Sufis. Some are extremely
But if you look at history, then Sufism was not always this spiritual la-di-da. It was quite
well,
horrible.
to be fair, maybe period where they were really gruesome and slaughtering anybody who doesn't believe what their construct of Islam is. I think it was in the whole about 150 years till now, and that's not 150 years in one period, but 10 years here and 20 years there. It was just in the beginning of which caliphate and which structure arises and more. And in the end, they just lost this battle about the might, and then they began to say, well, let's take another approach because it doesn't seem to work with our killing. That's them, just to mention.
So the point is that Sufis were not always like this. There was
of course not. No. They were the most. That's really true.
But I think there's still different types of Sufis. Even now, there are one who are really poisonous, and there are one who are pretty good. Like I can tell Islam with regards to India. There's one Sufi named Nizamuddin Chishti. He is kind of revered both by the Hindus and Muslims, and he's known as a Sufi. Another one is Nizamuddin Aulia. His tomb is in Delhi, and pretty much everybody respects him. Everybody reads his poems. Then there's a Sufi called Sufi Ahmad Sirhandi, really poisonous Sufi, and those both kind of Sufis still exist.
Okay,
that's
so
right.
This was the question by GPZ. on the Sufis. Jeremy, did you want anything else on Spain and Ramadan and all that?
Not on that, no. I've got something else on France, actually.
Can this wait a bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Ike, do you have anything else? No, but you've already brought your comments, right?
I think that I wanted, I already told, and didn't came anything else up. So.
And Sewin, anything else that you'd like to comment on these topics? No. All right, then, Jeremy, you had something on France.
Yeah, it's just a brief thing, really, but I was reading an article today in Le Monde, and their Prime Minister, Manuel Valls, is now calling this a war, a clash of civilizations. Nous ne pouvons pas perdre cette guerre qui est une guerre de civilisation. So we can't... Sorry?
Between what? Between whom?
Basically, it looks like it between the West and between, well, I guess they're calling it Islamism. But what sticks out to me about this is that you've got the Prime Minister of France now saying this, and a few years ago, the leaders of the Western countries, it was just it was kind of taboo, wasn't it, to say that it was a clash of civilizations or anything like that. And now they've kind of been forced to admit that it is really, at least against the so-called Islamists, whatever they define them as.
Okay, but has he specified anything, or is he just saying no? We're just talking about the culture or the ideology?
I mean, the articles in the context of they had like a terrorist attack in France.
Yeah, but is this the guy who decapitated his boss?
Where did that take place? I'm trying to find out now.
Near Lyon. Because this is the funny story. Because the story is that a guy apparently who was a worker or a subcontractor in a factory went in with his colleague, and then whether it was both of them or just the one guy, went in and hacked the head off, carved some Arabic slogans into the skin of the head, and then put it on a pole at the entrance of the factory. And then next to it, he put the IS flag, the Daesh flag. So now we have the information that he decapitated someone whom he worked for at some stage. So people are saying this has nothing to do with Islam. This is just just an angry employee who felt bad towards his boss. So he tried to do something bad to his boss. But then we have... The funny thing is, I don't know what he carved into the face of this man, whether these were just Arabic threats or whether these were sentences from the Quran. At the moment, I do not have this information. But then you have the Daesh flag next to him, which makes it a political statement again. So there's conflicting information between the different parties, and that's why I would love to know whether this was the Minister of Interior, whether he said anything to this.
This is the person I'm quoting. Is the Prime Minister?
The funny thing in this case is, again, it's not the first time that the secret services of some countries already also knew this guy. He was in contact with extremists, etc. So
yeah, but they
that's
stopped
also
observing him.
Yeah, but I mean. They had contact with him. They already talked to him, and then they stop observing him. I mean, well, what's that? They always in politics call about saving data and controlling everybody because of some guys in the population,
Yeah.
and then
It shows they can't.
later here, this guy already is known to the government and to the secret service, etc. And they did nothing in the end. They just observing all other people who do nothing at all, and they have to suffer on the legal issues. And especially France is very bad, I think, at the moment, because it's turning to into the fascistic state. France is very, very ill.
You
I
go as
think.
far as fascistic?
Yeah, I think it's
Why is
turning
it
into.
fascistic?
Well, if you look on the cut down, if you do some copyright issue about that, and on the legal side, girls aren't even allowed to wear too long skirts, etc., and they have to look at the look that is not too Islamic. What that means they don't specify. I mean, I don't promote Islam at all. I don't like Islam very much. But what France is doing right now, it's very fascistic in the end.
Well, do you know Marine Le Pen?
Is the woman on the right?
Yes.
Oh,
That she is gaining more and more influence because of her populistic approach. This is the same as what Geert Wilders was doing in Holland.
yeah.
She doesn't strike me as like massively extreme. I mean, like what extremist views does she have?
Well, she has the same views. She doesn't want the euro. I think she want to go
Well,
out of
that's
the.
not really,
the
that's not really an
the
extremist view. I mean, the euro's been a bit of a disaster for some countries.
That's just the beginning
But she wants to close France down.
of her, but that's just the beginning. Because Geert Wilders was in the beginning the same, a little bit easy on this. He just wanted to be a patriot, etc.
That's a bit much to extrapolate, isn't it? You're sort of saying, well, because she believes this now, she's going to go and become extreme in future. You don't know that she's going to, do you?
But she meets up with Geert Wilders quite often, and the same with from Austria, the guy from the. I don't know the name right now, but they meet quite often and talk about the same.
The Haider guy.
I don't think it was Haider itself. It wasn't a newer one.
Okay, it doesn't matter. But the point that Jeremy is making is correct. Just because some things happen here, it doesn't automatically then apply to the rest. But what I see is that Marine Le Pen is trying to close France down. In other words, she's trying to make France the island that it used to be. We are the best, we are the bestest and the best of the best. And we do not want to be influenced any longer by taking all the blacks out of our former colonies. She wants to stop that. She wants to go and say, all right, we used to do this. We used to have Algeria and you know all the countries in the west of Africa. She wants to stop all the influx from those countries. And she is saying that the most the differentiating factor is Islam. And there she's using populistic arguments, saying that Islam does not fit in with the culture and that it suppresses this, and therefore anybody who is Muslim needs to first swear allegiance to France and then to the religion. And this is what I find what you call fascistic.
Yeah, but I'm not that far away from her on how else do you deal with Islam, really? When you've got like France has got one of the highest Muslim populations in Europe.
Yeah.
I think it's like percentage-wise higher than the UK even. I mean, what are they supposed to do? Because they do have a load of Muslims who don't want to fit into secular French culture.
Exactly, and this is what she's using. And now, how do you go about it? Do you go about it like the British, who are pussyfooting around the problem and creating their own problems? Or do you go about it and say, listen, we don't want this anymore? Like Switzerland said, listen, enough is enough. If you want to come to Switzerland, you have to be Swiss. You're not going to build any more minarets. You're not going to build any more this. You're not going to do this. We don't want Switzerland looking like Istanbul. And that's what they've done. So there's different approaches to this. Or you let you let people like Pegida in Germany, you get them going crazy. Or there's another group, Pro NWH, or I don't know what they call, Pro something.
Pro NRV.
Sorry, what?
Pro NRV. Pro NRW.
Exactly. And this group, this group is actually far right extremists, but they're using Islam as a launching pad. So they're saying, well, this is all about Islam and this is our culture. But in the second sentence, you can already hear that they're talking about Germany to the Germans and no influx of foreigners and things like that. So it's quite a weird situation. And if the government doesn't do anything, then the German internal right wing is going to take care of the problem in its own ways. So there's very different approaches.
And remember a couple of weeks ago, we're talking about the situation in Australia.
Yes.
And you were saying, well, what is the solution?
Yeah.
The Australians have come up with excellent solution now. Nobody will be traveling to Australia anymore in boats. They sent a couple of boatloads to Thailand. They paid them $30 million, which is a drop in a bucket to what it would have costed them. And they're also talking to Vietnam for any future boats. And now they're also paying off the smugglers. You know, when they come in a boat, they pay the smugglers around $15,000 and they take them back.
Come on. Are you making this up now?
No. I read it. The UN is very upset with Australia because they're doing it. They actually paid $2 million to another country to send people from Australia there. This is real.
Well, how long will this work? I mean, if the smugglers see that and they maybe say to themselves, well, let's get more money and smuggle more people, and they pay us more to smuggle them again back.
Yeah, but that would only work for a very short time. Then the people who come in these boats have paid their life savings to get in there. And that's when a few boats return, they haven't accomplished going to Australia, they will stop. I mean, they will be sent to Thailand or Vietnam. Believe me, that the problem is over in Australia. You won't hear anybody going there in the boats. I think. Take my word for it.
This is funny.
Take my word for it.
Okay. Another solution is where some countries have said, look, we're not taking any more refugees. Like the UK said, that's it, finish, we're done, we're full. No more.
That wouldn't work. They still have to go through the law. I mean, they're a signatory. Once somebody crosses into the border, they can't just say, "Oh, leave. Nothing we can do." Somebody comes in, the law is there to protect them.
No, they would just throw them back in the water.
I don't think that they would do that. There's enough Muslim population within Britain.
Okay. The thing is, once again, I think we need to inform. No, we cannot. I mean, I think what should be done is that the information flow should be increased so that people understand that going to Europe will not solve all their problems. This is the thing. There was a guy on TV who said, well, when I left Sudan, I was fearing for my life. I don't know what that meant. But anyway, so he then went to Turkey. From Turkey, he took a boat to Greece. From Greece, he went to France, and he said he didn't feel safe in France, so he didn't want to go and apply for political asylum in France, so he went to the UK. And then in the UK, he applied for asylum, and he says, well, then now he feels a lot more safe in the UK than he does in other countries. And this is the way that these people argue. So they go, okay, let's take a pick and then go. Now, the positive thing is this guy has a job. Okay, he's integrating. He's becoming part of society. But very few people actually are doing that. I see this in other countries where I see this again and again, where they're saying, what are we going to do with all these people? We are just feeding them, and then that's it. But they're not going into society. They're not becoming part of society. They expect now the people where they are, and it doesn't matter whether it's in Italy, France, or wherever, that they give them more and more money in feeding them, and then they expect the country to change according to their own culture, and it doesn't work like that. This is the problem.
Maybe they could go to Finland now.
I don't really know what the situation is in Finland, because on the one hand they say it's horrible where the police doesn't even, like in Sweden, that you can't go anywhere. Norway, Finland, and Sweden, so well, except Denmark, that you have enclaves of Muslims where they have Sharia in these areas, in these, I don't know, residential zones, and the police and the ambulances don't even go there. I don't know if this is true or not.
No. I mean, right now Finland has declared about the free income thing. I don't know how it's called in English, but any person will get money for a human like living. I have no clue what it's called in English, and you don't have to work in the end.
Well, it's called social benefits.
Yes, but it's a new form of social benefit. That means you really just get the money to living. You just get the money for living. You don't have any conditions for it, as far as it goes. So, because I mentioned this because you said about the guy from Sudan with work, with a job, and if Muslims see that in Finland, maybe they see an opportunity to make Finland a whole new caliphate.
That almost sounds like communism light. So you're just giving everyone a set amount of money, no matter what.
No, communism, you had to work for it.
Sorry?
You had to work. In communism, you had to work for it, really. Everybody had to do something.
Unless you couldn't. But everyone the idea was that everyone got the same, no matter what.
Yeah, probably, but the thing is, how it was done, it's another story, I think.
This sounds like it's sort of halfway to communism if they're just paying everyone the same, free money.
But the idea in this about the Finland income thing is they don't have any conditions for the money, but they just are trying if the society will work with such a system. They don't have the conditions like in communism that everybody has to work together.
Okay, so if we look at the situation, does anybody have an idea or a suggestion what the solution could look like?
The solution for where? For Europe or for Africa?
No, for Europe. Well, hang on. It's the same thing. The solution for Africans coming to Europe. I mean, would, what I think, an increased level of information for Africa, for those in Syria, for those who seem to think, well, you just come to Europe and then you've got it made, that it doesn't work that way. That
it seems to me like
is that true if I think this, or is there another solution to this?
But aren't they going to have an easier life in Europe in general?
Well, no, not if Europe is going to close down and say, listen, fuck you, I'm going to chuck you back.
But at the moment they haven't.
Well, they are starting to do that now. Like Britain says, we're closed. We don't accept anymore. Italy says we're closed. We're going to send them back. So Greece, I mean, come on. Greece is bankrupt, and there's people going into Greece. So if Greece loses the EU membership, then what then?
The EU overrides like individual countries' decisions because you've got an EU asylum policy.
Yeah, but it doesn't grab. It doesn't work. Each country has now declared what the limit is, or what the limit.
How are you going to stop them though? Because I mean, at the end of the day, as Nigel Farage in the UK says, if Italy really wanted to, they could just give all the immigrants EU passports, and then they've got a legal right to travel anywhere inside the EU.
Great. Is that the solution? Is that what we want?
That's not what I want, but that's what they could do if they wanted to. I mean, that's the problem with the EU. The EU asylum policy. It's just going to override pretty much the member states' ability to have their own proper immigration policy.
Okay, but Jeremy, at the moment, what we're looking at 1 billion people, roughly, that are being displaced, right?
From Africa, you mean?
No, in general. I'm talking about Syria, I'm talking about Iraq. 1 billion people that are in some way fearing for either the existence or life or whatever.
They're all being displaced to Europe.
No, who are being displaced in general, who are looking for some place to go, whether it be from Africa, whether it be from Middle East, whether it be from whatever, whether it's in Myanmar or all these areas that are being there where you have political turmoil. Because I think we're looking at a total of 1 billion. Okay, this is exactly, it could be 60 million from Iraq, but I'm counting the whole planet now. Because the point that I'm trying to make is if it is realistic that there's 1 billion people on this planet which are in fear for their lives for some odd reason, then it becomes an impossible task to cater for like 10-20% of the entire planet who are not able to do anything. So this is a huge problem.
Well, I guess the problem existed really, has existed for a long time, but it's only recently that you've had, they've had the means, I suppose, to sort of travel to Europe and travel. So it used to be maybe regional conflict and regional displacements, and it's become more international.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If I look at the holistic view now, then I would imagine whether we're in South America, whether we're in where the junta is or whatever, it's a huge number of people who are in dire straits somehow. And that situation, you're quite right, is not going to go down. That's not going to improve on its own. So I wonder if anybody has a solution or if anybody has thought about it. It's easy, we can Google it. Okay, I do not know if there's a statistic worldwide. Looking at only now Syria and saying, well, there's a couple of million, and if they come to Europe, well, if we spread them out a bit, we can handle it. Sure, but that's only the tip of the iceberg. I think, anyway, this is what I'm asking.
Probably the first thing we should do, many Europe countries, is not to deliver any weapons anymore in regions where it's already bad for the people.
You can't do that, because as soon as there are
Why
weapons,
not?
they will be delivered. So then we need to stop producing weapons. That's it.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, but
Why
now
not?
if you have the US economy stop producing weapons, then I suppose USA is going to go bankrupt too. And then it's no longer a Grexit, but it's a USEXit.
But I think if you want to solve it, start not to help the violence to get even worse.
Yeah, because we can't stop producing cannabis, marijuana, weed, whatever you want to call it. So how are we going to stop producing weapons? Because as long as there are people...
Why would you want to stop the?
weapons,
Why would you want to stop the former?
I wouldn't, no, but I mean, a lot of countries have tried, and they have been like, it's a total failure. No, I think we should legalize cannabis, please. I mean, the cannabis is one of the most useful plants on the planet, and demonizing it is absolutely ridiculous and stupid. But that's another story.
Make the jobs in the producing, turn off the weapon factories, and make cannabis plants.
Perfect. I mean, I'll sign that immediately.
But the USA, I think, in some aspects, the USA sees that cannabis is doing not that bad as some
not that
right
much damage. Correct. Yeah, but they're still producing a whole lot of, a whole percentage of the weapons on this planet.
Yeah, I mean, they maybe produce like 60 or 70% of all weapons for the whole globe. But I mean, you talked about the solution, and if the solution is just to keep jobs on in the USA and jobs in Europe stable, not to turn down the factories of weapon producers, I think we will never get a solution if we think like that.
Okay, but
if we
look at
save the jobs at any costs, because the costs come later to us. Like we see it, the Africans don't want to get shot by weapons of Germany or France or Switzerland even. Switzerland is in the top 10 of weapon
Yeah, that's
producer.
a surprise, eh?
I mean, if we don't stop this, the solution will never come in the end. Because if you see violence, you will earn violence in the end. So stop that and maybe put some money in the African countries because they could feed themselves if you just show them how and show that their land is very fruitful. Yes.
Surely we've been trying that for decades and decades. We've been trying
No,
to.
not really, Jeremy.
And
sorry. We plunder them.
Well-
Yes, we plunder them. We give them money to make plants, and then this whole fruits come to Europe. But for themselves, no, we haven't really done anything.
Well, I think. Isn't it more that the money's gone to the wrong people?
The money has gone to the wrong people, but the strategy
That too,
is wrong
yes.
as well. Building a couple of wells is going to help locally and to a limited degree and to a limited extent. But we have not shown people how to go about utilizing the kind of infrastructure that they have, that exists, and utilizing the resources that they have. And this is the problem, because it's much easier to exploit it, to take the resources and we produce and manufacture and then take the money, than giving the ability to the country itself to go and produce and manufacture and then reap the benefits from this. This is the whole production chain is totally corrupt.
That's what I meant. Yes.
So there, I'm sorry, I have to agree with you that I can't contradict you, but yeah, I agree. And the other thing is, if I look at people like Hamza Tsotzes, I mean, he's running around in the universities in the UK. Go, stop spreading these Falkland things. Yes, as you like stirring. Both of them going on about the Falklands thing we had a couple of weeks ago. What Hamza Tsotzes and the people are saying, that there is enough, it just needs to be distributed in a different way. And this is why they need Islam, because Islam is not exploitative. In other words, it doesn't take away from the people. It gives them the possibility and opportunity to learn how to do these things and then to go and sustain themselves. And if you don't, well, then God comes in and sustains you anyway. So what is the reaction to that?
Well, the question I have, if that is the case, why is the entire Muslim world, unless they're oil rich, as on foreign aid? Why,
Well, this is the point, exactly. So this would be a point to ask Hamza Tsotzes. Why is it that they receive so much aid, especially US aid? This is the funny story. They use US aid to buy flags that they can burn so that they can show their discontent with America.
Well, the Sordis got to do. He do the talk, but no walk. Let a Muslim country show how it's done.
Okay, that's also a good point. Yes. Anyone else on
Well,
this?
to be fair, right now we do the same here in this round. So we are also just talking right now. I don't know what all of you do tomorrow or after tomorrow.
Well,
But
this is
right
the
now,
point. What
you're
is
doing
there
this
that we
thing.
can do? Exactly. This is my question. What can we do? Now, what I'm doing is now I'm opening this channel, this Dawa response. In other words, to show that the arguments of somebody like Hamza, what the speeches he's delivering at universities, are absolutely ridiculous, stupid, and childish.
Going back to what someone said earlier, actually, what's the question? Is it what can we do for Europeans and Americans? What can we do to help the whole world? Because there's different solutions to help. Like if you don't care about Africa and the Middle East, then you can probably just shut up shop and sort of shut down immigration.
Yeah, but are there solutions? Theoretically.
Well, it would stop immigration from Africa and the Middle East. If you don't care about Africa and the Middle East, it depends for whom are you trying to get a solution.
Well, preferably for everyone, a win-win, not just a win-lose. I mean, obviously, if we
can't really
on
get a
the way we
solution for
are,
people.
exploiting the others and just benefiting ourselves, obviously we can continue. But now we have a situation that suddenly Islam is going crazy. Syria and Iraq, I mean, there's a huge problem there. So what is it? What are we going to do?
There's no solution for people who've been brainwashed by radical Islam, because they're just too far gone. I mean, they're just crazy, basically, as far as I can tell.
And the solution?
ISIS fighters just need to die.
In the end, the whole thing is about money. Are we agreeing on this?
Absolutely.
So when I heard, I think 2 weeks ago about this, and it's quite interesting. We have fair deal products, right?
Yeah.
Here in Switzerland, I think Germany is the same.
Yeah. And
the UK.
And I think it's a brilliant idea. Yeah.
No, that's. If you think about it, it is a very strange idea that you have to label a product fair. That means any other product isn't done fair. So
It's correct.
maybe
That is exactly the point.
maybe the solution would be to show the people, every person with a sticker on it, not fair trade.
Exploited, yes. But this is, come on, where do you get this? For example, coffee. So the people, this is exactly the point that I was making earlier. People had coffee. So they were used to pick coffee beans, put them into sacks, and deliver them to the West. Let's call it the West. I mean, I hate this expression, but for the time being, I'll just go with it because everybody understands what I'm talking about. So at the moment, it's like telling the West, here you go, here you have the coffee beans. Now, what you need to go is you go and you process them. So you build plants which process coffee beans. Then you roast them, then you grind them, then you deliver the coffee and blah, blah, blah. And everybody down the chain is making money. The only people who are not making money are the ones who are producing the coffee beans. So the farmer who suddenly is hit by a drought, or if there's any kind of disease, goes empty. And he is destroyed, income is destroyed, end of story. Now, fair trade now says, though, we are giving part of that money. This is what its intention is anyway. Whether it's done or not is a different story. But the intention is that we go and we integrate more of the processing into the country where this originates, so that the people are not being paid just a couple of cents, but they are given a possibility and opportunity to sustain themselves, where before it was just a matter of how good you could exploit them. And this was particularly bad for bananas. And this is where this whole thing started. So I don't know how this works, how we can now produce factories in Guatemala to go and produce the coffee beans from Guatemala, so that we then buy the product from Guatemala, so that the people in Guatemala benefit more from the coffee beans, or the people in Kenya, doesn't matter where, than they do at the moment. This would be then the super fair trade, I think. Isn't that where we're going, or should be going?
No, I really I'm standing on the ground. Make a non-fair trade sticker.
Okay.
That the people, a really big red one, that the people see, oh, if I buy this one, somebody will not get the money for his work. And maybe he thinks then, do I really want that? Because I also want to be paid for my work in any way. So do I really want it? Because I think it's just strange that you have to use a fair trade sticker. If you think just for a second, all other products who don't have this sticker means they are not fair trade. That somebody get exploited. That somebody doesn't get really what he deserved.
Okay, but then you have to go and ask yourself, who is getting what they deserve?
Well, at the end of the day, what is important is who is going to provide me with a cup of tea at the best price.
At
That's
a
what matters
reasonable
most.
price. Alasa, this is the point. Not the best price. The best price would be the cheapest, that you're going back into the exploitation chain again. I think it should be a reasonable price.
Yeah, but reasonable price is subjective.
It's supposed to be subjective, and it changes from bit to bit to bit, absolutely. But I think the guy who is picking the tea leaves in Sri Lanka ought to be able to support his family from this.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, this is something that Sri Lanka got to decide how much they want for their tea, so they can pay the foreigners properly. That's how every trade works. I mean, when I order something from Britain, I look at on the internet what the price is, and I order, and it's up to that person to decide what price he wants for his product.
Okay, so if you introduce this fair trade for coffee, for example, and now you force everybody who cannot prove that they are feeding back some of their profits into the country with a red warning sticker, careful, not fair trade, what happens to the seamstresses in Bangladesh who are producing Nike, I don't know, shirts and pants for almost next to nothing?
Well, I'll tell you, before this this free trade thing, that jobs were being done in New York, and people were paid a reasonable amount of money. Then they decided to change the laws, and now you got people working for pennies per hour in Bangladesh.
Okay, then what happens is that you increase the money in Bangladesh. Where are they going to go?
Well, they're going to go to probably to Philippines, South America, wherever they can get the cheap labor.
Okay, and what happens if everybody is now getting fair money? Then what?
Well, like fair money is, let's say I am in Bangladesh. I produce fabric. It's up to me what price I want.
No, unfortunately not. This is the whole problem.
But that's, like I've been in the business. I've been out of the business as well. Whenever I produce something, I establish the price. If I didn't get it, I went out of business.
Yeah, but if people tell you, okay, we're going to take yours, but only if you come down with the price, otherwise we're going to go somewhere else.
That's how it works. That's how the business works. You cannot change the fundamentals of a business.
That's free trade, isn't it?
Wait, you can call it whatever you want to call it.
Well-
I live in Canada, and I know there are employers who exploit illegal people who come here. They pay them like $4 an hour, make them work 14, 15 hours a day, right here in Canada, to produce goods that are cheap. There are.
Okay, and what is the solution?
What? There is no solution. The fundamentals, how the business work, is going to remain as such. It's up to the people how we treat each other.
Okay,
If
now let
we
me
decided-
come and ask the real question here. How is Islam the solution?
It's not. I mean, it's just people think they are. It's not the solution.
Yeah, but
You know,
Hamza
it's-
Sources runs around and says Islam is the solution.
Well, Islam isn't. We are. Let's see, there are a group for 12, 13 of us living together. It's up to us how to treat each other, establish what is fairness amongst each other, and work with the rules that we are, so we all can prosper.
If we all wanted to live like nomads in Arabia 1500 years ago,
Right?
then Islam would be a good solution, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, it would be also now a good solution if the whole world would be Islamic.
No, not really,
but-
because it discourages. Islam tends to discourage critical thinking, anything that
that's
might
the
be
other part.
incompatible with the Quran.
I don't mean this part. I'm talking now about business and fair trade, etc. In Ortiz' mind, I think if the whole world would be Islamic, the solution is there. Everything will be fair. Who doesn't apply to Islamic rules will maybe imprisoned or beheaded. That's his solution, probably, I think.
That's a utopian dream. I mean, I have not seen anything as such a Islamic law on trade. Never seen one. People make up whatever they want. It's like the other day, the girl comes in, she got a hijab, and she says this hijab has made me feminist. She tells me all the things that the hijab did for her. Tomorrow, a girl can come in, hey, listen, I got female genital mutilation. It has empowered me as a woman. It has done this for me. It has done this for me. So, you can make whatever you want to make out of what you, with the absurdities that you believe in.
Don't tell me that. Tell that to sources.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering if people see any benefit, any small benefit in what he's saying. So I'm trying to actually find, the other side. If there is anything that we can say, well, actually, this is good or this is bad. If you were to concentrate on this, it would be better or it would even be good. But I can't see this at the moment.
Well, it seems like an anti-solution to me, really, because you've got Islam is trying to emphasise about how this world isn't really all that important, and it's all about preparing for the next. So if you're trying to make this world better, then it's kind of an anti-solution to have an ideology that focuses around this world being not very important, and you just focus all your time on worshipping God and getting the rituals right and everything.
Yeah, because Islam stops you from thinking. That's it. Yeah.
Well, it's thinking about anything other than God and the Islamic rituals.
I don't know. Does sources promote his ideas, which in general they're okay, but does he promote his idea to be just in Islamic communities, or should the Islamic community also be in this mentality to the non-believers?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Say again.
These ideas he promotes, does he promote these ideas only inside the Islamic communities?
No,
which
never. He doesn't promote this inside. No. He goes outside. This is exactly the thing. He is the actor who delivers these lines to students in UK universities, or he goes around the world. I mean, he was in Pakistan, he was in South Africa, he was, I don't know where he's been. He's even been in Sydney. He's been to all sorts of places where Muslims pay huge amounts to send him around the world.
But he doesn't talk to Muslims, or what?
He talks mainly to non-Muslims. What
Mainly
he
to
does is he selects
But
some
what-
groups like LDM, and then he indoctrinates them with his line of thinking and says, this is how you give dawah to people. You tell them about this and this and this, and this is what you use and this is what you say. Then you tell them Islam is the solution and this is everything that people need. And then if everybody does this, then everybody's a happy chappy. And then he goes around and tells the same story to non-Muslims, and then LDM copy what he says and provide the same story to non-Muslims as well. So they're coming through different channels saying the same identical thing.
But does he also claim that you can do this only with a Islamic mind
Yes.
behind it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, then it helps nobody. Then no.
Well, it does. It helps all those people who are weak, who want to have some sort of purpose in life, who are unhappy, who are drinking, who are doing drugs, who are doing all sorts of things, who enjoy a rigorous routine and then at the same time think they're being rewarded for it.
No, I mean with help the idea to share things, to be fair, etc.
No, that's not the point. No. What he says is somebody just said, I can't remember who said it in a comment, Islam is the solution and now give me money.
Yeah, okay. Just wanted to make clear for me, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks as though there is no real solution, and we have to do this through humanity. We have to find a way of stopping the production of weapons. We have to stop the people from simply accepting things without evidence, and we're done. So it's that easy.
I really wish there was some way we could get our leaders to accept that secularism had been much more of a benefit to Europe, to European culture than it has been, because they're going around talking about secularism being a bit intolerant or something, and it's all thanks to Christianity that we've been so successful. But really, I see the success of Europe as being mainly down to secularism, and its progress has been in the face of religion. But the trouble is, because you've got such a widespread acceptance that no, it's been Christianity, you've got people saying, well, so Islam must not be too much of a problem either. It doesn't really stultify education or anything, but I think all religion does. And there's not enough people. I mean, half the UK is not really religious today, but you've still got leaders talking about how important religion is, and we can't get rid of faith schools, and it's just so infuriating.
Yeah, but this is being exploited by Muslims who are saying we are so close to Jesus and we love Jesus and Jesus and Jesus and Jesus, thinking that they are going to impress Christians. And this is the whole point. This is why the internet, the advance of the internet and the information technology that is behind that is slowly taking its toll. And this is why what you are saying, that a lot of people are going away from religion. This is also why Islam is dying, because a lot of people simply don't see the need for Islam anymore. And they're being totally disillusioned by what they see, what is happening with Daesh. But you still have people on British TV. There was a program this morning on Sunday Morning Live where they said, well, what is happening in Syria and in Iraq has nothing to do with Islam. Bullshit.
But to some extent they do impress Christians, and that's kind of my point, the problem is that people are accepting religion in general as being a driving force behind intellectual development, when I think it's the opposite. I mean, we need to get a culture that embraces secularism and enlightenment and it realizes that it's happened in the face of religion.
Totally. And this is why I made this video where I mean, it was provocative, but I did prove my point where I said knowledge is haram. Because this was something that Hamza Sources was confronted with in Sydney, and he made a big spiel about this. And he says, yeah, but it's not in the Quran and blah, blah, blah. And of course, it's about reflecting and it's about pondering and thinking and da-da-da-da. And I showed that this has nothing to do with Islam. It has nothing to do with Quran, because the Quran only says one thing, and that is learn about the Quran. Learn about what your God told you in the Quran. Don't learn anything else. Don't reflect about anything, just the Quran. And this is why I called it knowledge is haram. And that's exactly what the point that you are making, is that education is not what people want. The madrasa is what Islam wants. It wants the education on the Quran, it wants education on God, and that's it. And once you have the education on God, then you're good to go.
And you're absolutely right. There are prophecies of Muhammad when he says that, my generation is the best, and the next one would be not as good, the one after, and then he says after that, the people will make drinking halal and playing music halal, and they will seek education other than religious education.
Yeah. All right, then, last thoughts. Alassa, what do you think? Or should I start with the hadith of... No, let me do the hadith of the day first. Now...
Oh, no, I got to do it today. I've been waiting for this for a long time.
Oh, shit. And today I have one, and I wanted to show
Now
off.
both have
You wait until later. I worked on this one especially for today.
All right, then I'll do this next week.
Okay. And any one of these, you guys have heard something called Tasfiye Fatima? Mantra of Fatima?
No.
Okay, well, this is a ritual that many Muslims go through today. And this particular hadith will tell you how great, when we looked at the other aspects of Muhammad's life, this one is about him being a dad. And this hadith is the basis for this mantra of Fatima, which every Muslim is supposed to do it every night. Now, Fatima had a problem with the grinding stone. She would get the blisters, and it was really painful for her. And she heard the news that the Prophet had gotten some female slaves, and she decided to go see the Prophet, see if she can get one of the slaves. She went to the home of the Prophet. He wasn't home, so she told Aisha about this problem. And when Prophet came home, Aisha told him, and he told her that he has something better for her than the slave. Now, I'm going to read this hadith to you, and then maybe you can discuss it a bit. It's Bukhari, Volume 7, Book 64, Hadith number 274. And this is narrated by Ali. And there's another narration of this one by Aisha as well. Fatima went to the Prophet complaining about the bad effect of some hand mill on her hand. She heard the Prophet had received a few slave girls, but when she came there, she did not find him, so she mentioned her problem to Aisha. When the Prophet came, Aisha informed him about that. Ali added, so the Prophet came to us when we had gone to bed. We wanted to get up on his arrival, but he said, stay where you are. Then he came and sat between me and her, and I felt the coldness of his feet on my abdomen. He said, shall I direct you something better than what you have requested? When you go to bed, say Subhanallah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, and Allahu Akbar 34 times.
No, come on.
That's better than having a slave girl. You know, if my daughter come to me and I tell her, hey, I got better than this, she'll say, Daddy, you're insane.
Unbelievable.
But I don't get it right. How does this help? She had an issue with the hand mill. Did I recall that correct?
Well, yeah, well, she had a problem with the hand, but somehow this is better than having a slave girl. I mean, I'm wondering why he didn't give her that. I think he did not want it to give up the slave girl, so he came up with something better.
You want slave, you pray. Exactly.
Exactly.
My goodness. Okay. Wonderful hadiths. It's good that we spent hours and hours on hadiths and looking at the history and how they came about, and that hundreds of thousands were rejected, and this one was not rejected because it's the gospel truth.
Yeah, that's right, and many Muslims practice that. They do.
Instead of asking for help,
this.
they pray. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Any last thoughts? Alassa, thank you very much for that hadith. It's such an eye opener, really. And you want to quote this over and over and over. Don't get a slave. If you want something done, just go and pray, and it happens on its own. Now, you want washing machine, you pray. You can't make it up. Any last thoughts from anybody, or are we done for today?
Just for WZH in the Vaughan chat, au revoir, à bientôt.
Oh, okay.
Go effing yourself. I hate French.
It's amazing how many people hate French. I hate French too. I mean, I learned it because my girlfriend was French. So I used to speak better French than the teacher at school, and she was most irritated by that. But Pillow Talk French is excellent. So there you go. That's the way to learn it. All right, guys. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next week, and hopefully then in a technically perfect environment where all the microphones are working and everything is at the same level. And my headphones, I need to change my headphones, and then see if we
You
can
need
get
an
this right.
analog one, not a Bluetooth one.
I have analog, but the thing is that I then get cross frequencies as soon as they switch off, because then after 3 minutes they go dim, and then I get some other funny TV stations and things like that. So, and these are auto-tuning ones where you don't have this funny wheel that you need to twiddle to find the right station. So, anyway, I'll have to experiment with that as well. All these technical issues. Thank you very much. This was the Gin and Tonic show for the 28th of June 2015. Thank you very much for everybody, and we shall see you next week. Bye.
Bye.